please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
Hello and welcome to Season 5 of NSE FinWiz powered by cnbc TV 18, and I'm your host Nitya Balakrishnan. Today we've traveled to the offices of one of the companies that literally lights up every household in the country, Power Grid Corporation in Gurugram, and I'm joined by Tanveer Alam and Nikhil Kothari on this special show. Thanks so much for joining us today. Well, without further ado, Tanveer, let me come to you first. Everybody works very hard for money, right? At the end of the day, it's about, the generation where it's a YOLO. You only live once. So when it's this generation that works hard for its money, how would you advise them to set aside funds so that the money works hard for them?
The best way to actually allocate your money is decide first what is the time horizon of your investment. For a longer term goals, it is best advised that you pick up equity as an investment product. There is only one single secret sauce to wealth creation, and that secret sauce is called the power of compounding. Very few people will tell you that power of compounding does not effectively work for time horizon less than 5 years. So hence, all goals that is for time horizon over and above 5 years, you should choose equity as an asset class to keep investing and growing your money at a rapid pace.
If I can ask you, Nikhil, to jump in here, is there any perfect asset allocation mix then? Because a lot of us wonder, debt funds, equity funds, what are you talking about?
Markets are volatile in the short term. So major of money has to be in debt only. But if your horizon is long term, so that you can take risk, you can withstand the volatility, then your major portion of money will be in equities. So what happens is that it depends on a time frame. You need to divide your asset allocation. You need to put in debt and equity. It depends on individual to individual, depending on your time frame and your risk appetite. If you're a conservative investor who are investing for the first time and who have a short horizon, invest in debt only. But even if you're an aggressive investor, if you have a horizon long term, you can invest more in equity.
Talk to me really about why equity markets over any other kind of traditional or, even government indicated scheme. So why would you indicate equity markets, and what are the kind of returns really, given that a lot of us are confused about the volatility risk that's involved?
Equity is one of the best instruments to create wealth over a long-term period, because you're participating in that growth of that company. And if you look at generally also, who are more richer people, businessmen or working class? I mean, just general thumb rule, correct? Because they've taken that undue risk of doing that business, and hence they're getting rewarded. So your return is exactly commensurate to the risk that you take in doing your business.
Sure. Well, if I can now talk to you about very new age forms of investment, and I'm referring completely to cryptocurrency, because a lot of the youngsters out here, especially our viewers, want to know why not cryptocurrency?
A lot of people say it's cryptocurrency. What is the first definition of a currency? It has to be a legal tender. Two, it should have an exchange value. If you look at storehouses of money, in exchange, in barter you get. And it says when you take a currency, it says, I promise to pay the bearer of this money. It's a commitment it's an undertaking. Cryptocurrency fails in all these three aspects. So it is not a currency.
Interesting. Now, if I can just go on to ask you, you are looking at investing into the equity markets. If I were to ask you, Nikhil, the top 3 vehicles in equity markets to park funds, would you rank SIPs, ELSS, SWPs? What would top 3 vehicles according to you be, and why?
If you're investing in equities, broadly you can invest equities by 3 ways. One is that I buy stocks directly. I buy individual companies, so I buy Power Grid, I buy SBA stock, I buy HUL. Or I can invest through a mutual fund, where I give this money to a fund manager and he in turns buys stocks for me. Or third way is through PMS, which is portfolio management services, but again I give this money to a portfolio manager, he buys stocks in my name. So these are 3 ways of investing in equities. So it can be mutual funds, it can be direct equity, it can be a PMS vehicle. Now if your day in day out job is to understand stock market and evaluate that which company is good, which company is bad, you can read balance sheets, you can go and meet management, then you can do direct investing directly. You can invest in stocks, you can identify a few stocks and you can invest in them. But if you don't have time and if you don't have knowledge or bandwidth to do all this stuff, then better to give this money to a mutual fund guy or a fund manager or a PMS guy. So best ways to invest in equity is through mutual funds or PMS. Now it comes that, should I invest all my money together, right? Or I should stagger my investment. So we all are earning money, right? We all earn every month. So why don't save every month, right? And when we're saving every month, we should invest also every month. right? So that's where the role of a SIP comes in, that I invest every month. And as we said in the starting, that equity markets are volatile. It won't be a linear line. In the long term, it will give you a return, but it will always go through these ups and downs.
Well, thank you so much for that. But on that note, it's time to slip into a quick break right here on NSE FinWiz. But stay tuned. On the other side, all you need to know about the importance of setting a goal for financial planning. We're still in conversation with Tanveer Alam and Nikhil Kothari on NSE FinWiz here in Power Grid. And Tanveer, let me ask you, what is the importance really of setting goals when it comes to financial planning?
Oh, extremely important. In fact, if you can lay your hands, there's a book which says what they don't teach you at Harvard University. In fact, Mark has actually done a research that he studied 100 people of Harvard University batch, and he asked each of them 2 questions. Do you have any goals in mind, and do you have a written plan on it? Exactly 84 people said they do not have any goals and they do not have any plans. Only 13 people said they have a goal in their mind, but they don't have a plan. Only 3%, 3 people said, yes, they have a goal and they have a plan to it. After 10 years, they went and studied all the 100 individuals and how they have done in life and how much money and net worth they have accumulated. So the people who did not have any goals, 84%, say achieved X. People who had a goal in mind but did not pen down their plans achieved 2x. The 3% people who actually had a plan, can you guess what was the achievement? 10 times both this put together. So it's technically 30 times they've achieved more. So that's the power of goal setting that you have. It adds direction to your goal. In fact, even corporates, at the beginning of the year, they do a goal setting, what they want to achieve at the end of the year. So why not your own self?
If I can ask you for the benefit of our audience to actually split this into short-term, medium-term and long-term goals, and talk to us about financial planning keeping in mind these 3 things.
There are a few mandatory goals and there are a few lifestyle goals. What are my mandatory goals? In Indian context, it can be child's education, a child's marriage, our own retirement, buying a house, right? These are mandatory goals. What can be lifestyle goals? Buying a holiday home, buying a luxury car, go for a vacation every year on year. These are lifestyle goals. So write down each and every goal in your life, and from there ask that what is your time frame. Now, if it's a short-term goal, which is any goal which is less than 3 years, right, then you should need to keep this money in a very, very safe investment, which comes a debt instrument. Like it can be a FD, it can be a debt mutual fund. If the goal is, say, 3 to 7 years, which is like buying a house, right, those can be a goal. So if goal is for 3 to 7 years, you can put this money in a balance fund, which is a mix of debt as well as equity. And if the goal is for long term, which is above 7 years, initially you put this money in equities. Now, it doesn't stop there. You need to keep on reevaluating your goals. So once today your goal is maybe 5 years later, but after a few years, this goal become a 2-year goal. So then you need to do asset allocation again, put the money from balance fund to a debt fund.
So Tanveer, my next question is to you. Is there a nice balance of asset classes that you can make in your portfolio in order to ensure that you have some in equity, some insurance, real estate, gold?
So owning a single home is very good, but owning house as an investment subsequent 2-3 and house, I would not suggest is a great investment option, because return of real estate has never beaten equity return. Plus, it comes with 3 very difficult problems. One is the problem of liquidity. Whenever you want to sell, it is extremely difficult to sell the house. 2 is cash handling. Third is whenever you sell that particular thing, you incur a long-term capital gains. 4th is the maintenance problem. The property keep deteriorating every year on year. You have to pay property tax and all these things add together. There's a lot of hassles to it, not a wonderful investment to be in. Gold is like a pickle in your thali. So gold is supposed to be the safest currency. Link it to a goal like a daughter or son's marriage. And the best way to invest is in the form of pure paper gold, sovereign gold bond, or through gold fund, okay?
Well, let me actually work in, Zafrul Hassan from the audience, who has a particular query regarding equity markets.
At the time of investing, my confusion is that for a particular type of mutual fund, if I want to select, there are different agencies or financial services which are offering different ratings to a particular category of funds. So how one can select a particular, it's a good mutual fund for an investor in a particular category?
When you're selecting a particular fund, trust me, nobody knows which fund is going to the best fund in the next year or next quarter or next few years also. So technically what you do, you choose a fund which has passed through number of good and bad years, good and bad cycles. So if you have a fund which has done 10, 15, 20 years, the fund manager has seen number of bull phase and the bear phase. So he's actually taken the journey completely. So he has that knowledge. Second is basically how has he managed during good and bad times. Instead of looking at point-to-point return, you look at a calendar year return, which is available in various sites. Okay, look at that particular thing, and only look at one ratio, which is called information ratio or Sharpe ratio. If you look at these two parameters, your job is mostly done.
Fair enough. So we did mention at the beginning of this conversation, you only live once is the attitude. So Sampath Kumar, aged 43, also seems to kind of reflect this, because the dream is to build a beach-facing home.
And for that, I wanted to accumulate whatever I can. So, roughly, I say 1.5 crore minimum I want to invest in if I want to go for a property side there. So how can I accumulate?
How much you want to invest per month for this goal?
Minimum is 20,000.
If you did SIP of 10,000 rupees a month for the last 20 years, you're 1,20,000, 10 years 12 lakh, in 20 years 24 lakh you invested. Today that 24 lakh would have been approximately 3 crores for you. If you do 20,000, that amount would be approximately 6 crores. Even if you have roughly estimated 1.5 crore, taking inflation into account, at 6 crores, you might be able to get a good beach house. The only challenge is your own self. If you don't maintain that discipline of investing for 20 years, you will never own it.
We have time for one final question in this segment, and that's Lakshmi Kant, who's a manager here.
Aim is to retire early, and by keeping the current inflation into mind, I will need around 2 to 3 crores so that I can retire early. And since I am 44 years old now, so time horizon is around 12 to 13 years. So is it possible? And how?
It is the time horizon that is more important in creating that wealth. Now, in your case, specifically 10, 12 years, the time horizon you have collapsed. So, by investing 25,000 rupees a month, you will invest 3 lakh rupees in a year. In 10, 12 years, you land up between 30, 36 lakh of investments. That at best will grow to approximately anywhere between 80 lakhs to a crore. But if you extend the time horizon to 15 years, it might magically go to almost close to quarter to 2 crores.
On that note, it's time to slip into another quick break right here on NSE FinWiz. But we have a very exciting rapid fire segment on the other side. And we have time for a rapid fire Q&A with our experts. A quick show of hands, any of you with questions directed to our financial experts, please?
Basically, we are working professionals and we hardly get some time. So how to choose a right broker or agent, you say?
You have to first choose what exactly are you saving for. If you're saving for some goals that you want to buy your car in 2 years time or 3 year time, then you need to choose a debt product which will not be volatile with the market. If you are choosing a goal which is 10, 15, 20 years down the line, you can choose an equity fund. You will be safely happy. Advisor will only help you suggest which is the best part. You will have to choose what are you saving for and what is the time horizon of that goal. That is why it's called personal finance.
Can we have the microphone to the gentleman in white in the 4th row, please?
I would like to ask about the reverse mortgage option. And I have not seen, talking about these options, and rarely we read about this option in the magazines.
Now, reverse mortgage concept is a very, very good retirement tool. So if you have already created a house and now you're running short of cash flows, you can obviously mortgage your house and get a cash flows on it. Now, this can be done on your living house or you have a second house. Now, if you're given this house to your children, so you cannot do reverse mortgage on that house, right? So it can be done your house or it can be done on the second home which you have, and if you want to take a reverse mortgage on that. This is applicable in case of you are running short on your retirement cash flows. You can use this as a very good concept. In India, it's not even very, very popular because Indian, the mentality is that I should leave something for my children's, and house is the first asset which I want to leave as an estate planning. So in India, this concept is not picked up till now. But what I see is the next generation will not be attached in that way that this house is mine and I never want to give away to someone else, or if children already may have some other goals, right? So then you can opt for reverse mortgage.
Time for one final question, and if I can have the microphone to the gentleman in the light pink there, please.
My question is about the attractiveness of products like NPS and ULIPs in view of the recently introduced long-term capital gain tax on mutual funds and other equity products. Do you think that in the changing scenario when the long-term capital gain tax has been introduced, these products need to be reconsidered in view of the taxation benefits?
See, mutual fund and ULIP, they both invest in the same market. It's a market-linked product. The only difference is ULIP has higher charges compared to mutual fund. That is what it makes the entire product unattractive. ULIP, the charge is not very fixed. It varies anywhere between 6% to even 12% annual charges. Okay. So even if it's at 6, 7, 8%, the same mutual fund, this product is available to you at 2%. Now long-term capital gains on equity mutual fund is 10% when you sell, right? Now when you have sold as equity long-term, only 10% on the gain amount. So historically, if you have made, say, your 10 rupees has gone to, your 100 rupees has gone to, say, 150 rupees. On 50 rupees, you'll pay 5 rupees for the period of 4 or 5 years that you have paid. Here, you have year on year, you're paying higher charges. So ULIP, just because tax has been levied, the ULIP villain does not become a hero. It still remains a villain to me. Now, NPS. See, NPS is a great product if you are not investing in equity market for your retirement. It at least gives you a discipline and keeps you investing in equity market partially. You can choose which option you want to. And additionally, it gives you tax saving of 50,000 rupees also. But in my term, the current structure of ULIP which is there, NPS which is there, in the current structure of NPS, when you actually withdraw the money on retirement, when you're 60, 2/3 of your money you have to compulsory buy annuity. And that is compulsory taxed. So in my language, it's deferment of taxes. And that is what makes the NPS a little less attractive compared to a normal ELSS product.
With that, we're absolutely timed out on this episode of NSE FinWiz, coming to you all the way from Power Grid. Tanveer Alam and Nikhil Kothari, thank you so much for joining us. And from the entire team that put the show together, goodbye and thanks for watching.
The event went extremely well, and as far as I think, it was extremely timely, looking at not from only the perspective of the market, but also from the perspective of the organization.
We have been well informed about the various aspects of it, though it's a very brief interaction, but I find that one aspect which I could take home is that ELS is a very good option for me to invest rather than on a regular basis.
The key takeaway from the program was that how we can build the bridge between what we aspire to be, that means that what our goals are, from where we stand right now. So that was the great learning from the program, and it was great, and we are really grateful to CNBC and NSE to conduct a series of programs like this, and it was really good.